Hey, Collective. We've got Uranus and Gemini is the talk of the town right now. So we have the Ten of Swords in reverse and the Fool in reverse as our significators to check out that energy here. So this is the third decan Gemini card, the Ten of Swords here, and then the Fool is has the association to Uranus. Um, and the way these came out, it feels like we're in a liminal space, and that we're in that in between, because the 10 of swords reversed, this is the only way up from, or there's only one way to proceed from rock bottom, and that way is up, only one way to go. But we're not quite at our new beginning yet, so I want to see what's going on. What is there? Something stopping us? Is there something we still have yet to accomplish? Because if we're in a liminal space, it makes me feel like we've already done what we need to do. It's almost like waiting for things to play out. So, let's see. Ace of Swords. Okay, so a truth. And as I was meditating and, contemplating on this reading today, because it's such a big transit, the last three times Uranus was in Gemini, that was World War II, the Civil War, and the American Revolution. So, pretty significant for those of us that, live in the States. And I mean, one of those was a world war as well. But if it didn't happen here, if it didn't happen in America, did it happen to anybody? Right? We're the center of everything. But as I was going through the meditation before this and getting ready, it felt like this message was coming through from Anubis, that he's trying to guide us through this liminal space. I randomly found my Anubis oil open this morning. I'm usually pretty good about closing those, but I guess not this time. And that makes sense for an in between space, just because of what he represents, in Egyptian mythology, and being that guide of the dead, being a psychopomp. Um, so a truth, a truth we haven't quite got to yet. What is this truth about? The Ten of Pentacles. Oh, getting clear on what it is you want. And this is the Crow Tarot. So I wonder, as we were going through whatever this Ten of Swords is, this rock bottom was, did something happen to make us change course? And not, just simply because of something happened and we had to change tack, like out of necessity and whatnot, but it's like, I almost want to say like a midlife crisis, like something so painful and so deep made you question where you were headed in life. Are you headed towards things that truly make you happy? Is maybe that why you could be running into some walls, some non starters? Because you had to get clear about what it is you really want. I mean, that would make sense why, things would repeatedly not work out if you're not fully clear on where you're headed, you know. Get another one. The Four of Wands in reverse. So yeah, this feels like, and especially with this celestial signature, that's the revolutionary, the rebel. And Uranus is a very transformative uh, energy. And we've got some interesting, like I said, celestial weather to work with, because on the 10th, it's the buck moon, the full moon in Capricorn. So that Saturnian energy to bring it in to whatever this is, whatever you're contemplating, headed towards, to really like, manifestations need a plan, you know? Like, it's not, sometimes things, might fall out of the sky into your lap, but in most cases, we have to put steps to, meet the universe halfway. And since the Four of Wands is coming out in reverse, this is the ultimate blissful happiness card, like the homecoming, but it's in reverse. So this does feel like getting clear with yourself on what you want. And I can feel sadness in that, in letting go of those expectations of the past. Because even if you know that they may not be healthy for you, or just not what you want anymore, it can certainly still hurt to leave that behind, because that might include leaving people behind, relationships. Uh, if they can't meet you where you are, they might not be able to meet you where you're going, you know? But let's see over here on the left, maybe a little more detail about what this Ten of Swords was. We might still be recovering from it. That could be another need for this liminal space here. Just need some more time. Or we could just be, you know, waiting for that other half of the manifestation, for the universe to meet us, where we've risen to meet them. However you interpret that. And we've got the Six of Wands in reverse. So typically I read that as like a private victory, like something that, I don't know, some successes are for you, right? You want to celebrate those just with yourself, or with a small group of people. This, in relation to this Ten of Swords here, this feels like a bitter failure, maybe like a public one. So maybe that rock bottom, whatever it was visible to other people. Uh, and we all have a past. You can't change what you did, you can only change what you do, right? And I don't know, I saw it was a David Lynch quote today, RAP. uh, it said, I love seeing people come out of darkness. And that feels like the process that we're going through right now. It's the climb up out of rock bottom. Let's get more on this. Oh, maybe thinking about it. Seems like there's some shame still there since now they've gone quiet here, the cards. Something hidden or that we want to remain hidden. What do we have shame over? Oh, 9 of Swords in reverse. Shame over not having nightmares? Huh. Because this is, like in the upright, this is like the nightmare card, like the anxiety, PTSD. And in reverse, it's read a lot more positively. Oh, do you have shame about not having shame? As like counterintuitive as that sounds, like almost like survivor's guilt, but and I mean it depends on your situation, that could certainly be the case. I'm thinking of it in more of individual terms of you don't need to fill this role of being at rock bottom forever. Like, you don't need to become your mistakes. It's okay to move on. And if there's, these crows cawing in your energy, in your midst, about how you moved on or even that you moved on, screw them. Like, the point is to heal, right? And no, they don't have to be jumping for joy, especially if that, everybody has a past of yours includes some mistakes that negatively impacted them. Like, raise my hand, that's definitely me to other people for sure. And that's other people to me too. Like, you don't need to what's that Catholic thing? Self-flagellation. You don't need to do that like endlessly and repent to no end, because then you're just stuck in a cycle and you're not actually healing. The point of healing is to live. Let's get another one. But I feel that energy of like, how dare you move on? Like, excuse me, I don't. You have to. I mean, you don't have to. Like, it's your life, but I don't know. It just feels like someone feels slighted by your healing. Hi, kitten. Good morning. Your belly's so soft. Sorry, cat interruption. Feline interruptus. Uh, Maybe she could sense that I was getting upset. She's a very good emotional support animal. But let's get one more. Maybe the nature of these conflicts, these mistakes, just something, or death in reverse. Yeah, that feels like somebody doesn't want you to change. Why though? I mean, that might just be a point of speculation of they could have their own healing to do. And like I was saying, I've made mistakes that have harmed other people. They could still very well be upset about it. And I don't know, it gets a little complicated in for both sides of the table. Would reconciliation make things worse? And in my case, I had to prioritize my needs above having a constructive conversation around things that happened. I have very little confidence that the things that hurt me will even be recognized that they were hurtful. Uh, and I just can't, you know, in many cases, I have to take care of my healing, protect my peace above all else. And if that makes me selfish, well, then I'm selfish, you know? And people aren't going to like that. That there's like a desire for people to remain the same. I don't know. I think that comes from uh, a place of emotional immaturity that seeing you change, I don't know, maybe they aren't capable of it. Maybe they haven't found, I don't know, the right therapist, the right support group. Let's get a little more information about maybe who this is, who's mad that we're healing. Oh, and another crow. We've got loss, Saturn in Pisces, and isolation, Saturn in Virgo. So more Saturnian energy. And a 6 and a 12 for my numerology folks. And divide and combine those into each other a few times. This feels like reclusing to heal. And in that reclusion, I don't know if that's a word, uh, some loss came with that. Like, not only for you, but for the people around you that you had to or did pull away from, like, whatever the case may be. And you are not responsible for other people's feelings. That phrase has ground my gears many a time because it's been used against me in like a weaponized way, but it's, I think, recognizing that people are going to feel the way they feel. If you're not acting with malice in your heart, Like, you can't make everyone happy. And if you have to sacrifice your peace, your authenticity, anything like that, to maintain a relationship, yeah, there's going to be some loss there. I can't tell you what to do. I don't know if that's really a relationship to hold on to, though. That's not one I would be able to hold on to if I had to sacrifice my authentic self for it in order to maintain it. But let's find out more about this new journey. Maybe what's stopping it. Hi, kitten. She is just languishing her little body, like all up against me. She's standing up like tippy-toed on the couch. It's very cute. That is my napkin. That's not for you. Sorry. A new journey. Yes, come up on the couch. Tell me more. What's going on with this new journey? Stopping it? What? Okay. What's stopping it is a Queen of Cups. So court cards, I mean, you can read those as aspects of self or individuals. Based on how these have been coming out, I'm going to read this as an individual. This might be who is not happy about your healing process or progress. And rough that someone wouldn't want you to heal. That's really antagonistic. But in the Queen of Cups, in the Rider Waite, there's typically a lid on her chalice. Her chalice. I don't know why that came to mind. Chalice. Uh, so someone who's not being very forthcoming with their emotions. And there was something that was bugging me right before I started this reading. It was the like archetypal tarot. The major arcana is the archetypes, and the minor arcana, the four suits or the four cognitive functions. I couldn't remember what those were. And so cups are feeling, wands are intuition, pentacles are sensing, and swords are thinking. And that just being on my mind before I got started, I feel like this person is probably very smart. And it feels detached in a way, like book smart, not necessarily experiential smart. Uh, almost feels like understanding emotions through an intellectual lens, like they're not being experienced. Hmm. If that's the case, well, I don't know if this person can emotionally mature if they're only understanding emotions cognitively. Because that if you mix that with an antagonistic personality, then the world. So this is the last card in the major arcana. So cycles closing. This is also sometimes interpreted as like the internet, World Wide Web. Someone learning about emotions because they don't understand them. And that could be, what is that called? Alexithymia. It's where like you have difficulty naming your emotions, like what you're feeling. So maybe there's a component of that going on, but this still feels more like gaining a cognitive understanding of emotions. And this is the beginning of a new journey, and then this is the end. So it's like we're 3/4 across the bridge from like over the liminal space into the new beginning. But what's the deal with this Queen of Cups? Like why are they a block? Are they like a threshold guardian? What is the deal? Nine of Pentacles. Independence. They don't want you to have independence? Or why though? Let's see. How about some more detail on why wouldn't they want you to be independent? Like this just feels, excuse me, uh shady all around. And that, I know a lot of readers will like refer to that as a confirmation burp. I love it. And right as I was about to say shady, so there's something funky going on. What is it? Escape. Mars in Pisces. What's Mars doing right now? Mars in Leo? Let's see. Um, am I right? Nope. Hold please. Mars is in Virgo. Hmm. So that's where the South Node is right now. So the opposite sign to Pisces, and another 12. So your Pisces placement might be important. 12th house as well. But I can't quite land on, like, are you their escape? Like, is it somehow they attach to like your chariot and ride off into the night. Need a little bit more drama. Mercury in Leo and birth, Venus in Cancer. What? So Mercury in Leo, very over the top communication. And like it says, drama. And this feels like almost like a trap. Like, I almost want to say baby trapping. I hope not. Uh, but this, something just feels really odd just about this energy. I wonder if this new beginning, whatever it is so big, so revolutionary with that, Uranus and Gemini. I can't quite tell if this person is trying to stop it or ride your coattails out of their situation. Maybe they got someone pregnant accidentally. And I think I'm phrasing it that way because I'm a woman, like flip the genders and so forth, like just as needed. Um so that could just be dependent on your situation as to which way that goes. I want to see, because this was the obstacle, or this is how it turned out. This person that for some reason wants to stop your independence. So, how do we stop that? What's our bridge out, like the last quarter of that? This is the Urban Crow Oracle. Wrath. Okay. Um, hmm. And that's a 54, so that's a 9. So right at the end of a journey. This might be a final push. And this, you can also read this as like wrathful compassion. Uh, Something that could be necessary if someone is trying to block your exit to a better life. Uh, there could be some complicated feelings around being wrathful. I had a lot of instances throughout my childhood, my adolescence, and whatnot that I was criticized for angry music. Um, I liked darker art, darker comic books, like stuff like that. And my emotions always had to stay like corralled into what other people felt was appropriate, not how I felt in proportion to the situation. If you've gone through all of this trouble of climbing out of that pit from rock bottom to find your truth, to search for what makes you happy, and you're on that path, and someone's trying to steer you away from it, or like catch a ride and not actually do the work themselves, that could be some inspiration for wrath. And take it how the coin falls, of, do you need to be more wrathful if you tend to be on the more like mild mannered side, and put your foot down for realsies, you know or do you need to keep that wrath in check? Like, it just kind of depends on your situation. Get one more of these to clarify wrath. And I don't know if I said it, but this is the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Revenge. Whoa, this is getting heavy. This looks like Perseus and Medusa. We've got Mars in Scorpio. That's like if the ocean was on fire. uh, so a lot of Mars and a lot of Saturn. That's heavy energy. We've got innovation at the bottom, Jupiter and Aquarius. You know, I know it's cliche, uh, but that saying, the best revenge is a life well lived. And I definitely agree with that. But the thought that just popped in my head, this could be the other person. And I don't say that to instill fear or anything, but someone that's involved in this situation, if they do feel particularly slighted by something you did in the past, of they're unhappy about you moving forward, are they trying to get revenge on you? And revenge can take a lot of different forms. That can be things that, I don't know, are embarrassing, talking about your secrets. Because if you take the Medusa story into account here, she was demonized after being victimized. And he's proudly brandishing her head after, after what she had to go through. Now she's incomplete and separated from her body, ultimately to become an icon. But that's almost what it seems like. It's like they're trying to take revenge and show it off. When, I mean, Perseus was trying to save his mother, but this could be a caution of, since we're in this liminal space, and since Anubis seems to be the guide coming through for this reading, there's something that hasn't transpired yet that there will be judgment for. And judgment that I don't think is unanimous. That it's going to be like a mixed bag. And depending on how things go, if you lose your temper, if they lose their temper or whatnot. That'll decide who is Perseus in this equation and who is Medusa. I think I don't know, the thing to consider too is Medusa's righteous anger. Uh, maybe don't turn people into stone if you are having a discussion, a heated discussion with them. But this does kind of have that, like, oh, what is that term? Reactive abuse? Like, look, I treated this person poorly and they reacted. They're unstable. Which the people around, all these crows, whatnot, they might only see your reaction. Or the other thing that just came to mind is someone has already been treating you like this, like Medusa, and there will be collective wrath when they find out you were victimized and then demonized like her. That thread feels a little bit more complete than the other ones did. I think I'm going to leave it at that because it's starting to feel a little convoluted. But really complicated energy, and it makes sense for Uranus and Gemini just because that's such a massive transit, with those generational planets and whatnot. Uh, and heavy with that, like those war vibes, and which, I mean, Mars, we saw Mars come out a couple of times, but we've got Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey. Okay, so there's a theme. Uh, maybe woosah. If you're getting a little too heated, if someone is making you feel unsafe, please reach out to the appropriate people, a safe person, so on and so forth. People who are qualified to handle that sort of thing. Uh, and maybe there's something in the lyrics here, either in this song or the whole album itself. And I'm just going to reiterate, like, woosah, and that goes for either side of this equation. If you are dishing out the wrath or receiving the wrath, like staying calm, staying steady to help de-escalate the situation so that you can get across the bridge completely, that last hurdle. Seems like this person is not someone who's meant to come with you. You're going to have to discern that for yourself in your own situation. But moving past this person onto the new beginning. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.